Okay, let's do problem 56, merged intervals. So here we're given an array of interval arrays, and we have to change these intervals so that there aren't any overlapping intervals. So in example 1, we have 1, 3, 2, 6, 8, 10, 15, 18. And when we look at the first two intervals, we can see that they are overlapping because 2 is smaller than 3. So we have to change it so that it becomes 1 and 6, which is correct interval, and then the rest 2 remains unchanged because they are now overlapping. So in our question, they did not say that the intervals are sorted. So our first step will be sorting an interval. But how are we going to sort it? We are going to sort it based on their first elements. So we are going to use array.sort method, but we will add some parameters in so that it only compares the first elements. So what's the second step? Well, second step is straightforward. We are going to use a for loop. So instead of using int I equals 0, I'm just going to use int intervals. Okay, and then we are returning an array of an array, but array is fixed in Java, so fixed in Java, and we don't know what size of an array will be because if they are merged, it's going to be shorter. So instead of using that, I'm going to use a list of integer array, and I'm going to call it merged. Okay, so we're going to add an interval. So when are we going to add the interval to our merged? If merged is empty, so we always have to put down the first one. So if is empty, or if it's not overlapping, if the intervals are not overlapping, we just do merged dot add the interval, the current interval we're looking at. So let's use our examples. So if we iterate, so we can see that the first 3 are not overlapping, so our merged will have 0 and 1 in one of them, and then 2 and 3 in the next, and then 4 and 7 in the next one. Okay, now when we go to the fourth element, we can see that this value is smaller than this value, so it is overlapping. So how do we know? How do we write down this condition? So to do that, we just have to do merged get. So we have to get this number, the number 7, and then we have to get this 5. So to get this 7 here, we have to do merge.get. What are we getting? Merge.size -1, because there are 3 of them, but we are interested in getting the second element, and then we are getting, within the second element, we're interested in getting the first element, which is 7. So if this is less than 5, which is our current interval, so interval 0, so that's the condition for checking if it's overlapping. If it's smaller, it's not overlapping, so we can just add them in. Else, what happens if it's overlapping? So in our case, it's overlapping. So we have to change, so what we need to do now is this 5 and 6 can also be like 5 and like 20 or something. So we have to update this 7. So if 20 is greater, if the second element of an interval is greater than 7, we have to put 20 here. Otherwise, if 7 is greater than 6, we just write down 7. So we still have to get this second element, so it will be else merged.get. So we are basically going to use this condition here, not this condition, this expression, and this expression equals, so we are updating it. So how are we updating it? We are just going to use math.max. Again, we're going to put this one in, and then interval 1, like that. right? And then at the end of the for loop, we have to change the merged to array. Right, so that's pretty much it. The diagram is pretty messy, but if you write down the code, it's going to make more sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down a list of integer array. I'm going to call it merged equals new array list. And then we have to sort the intervals. How do we sort it? Well, we can't, as I said, we can't just do arrays.sort method like that. We can't just do that. Doesn't work. But we are interested in comparing. So this arrays.sort method, what we're going to do is we're going to get two numbers, and then especially the first elements of those two numbers. So it will be, I'm going to call them A and B. And they use lambda expression and say integer to integer compare, and then we are interested in getting the first element. Okay, so that's gonna sort on our intervals, and then we need a for loop this time. Intervals. What are we doing? Well, if merged is empty, or if it's not overlapping, so merged.get merged.size -1, which is the proof, which is the current, which is the most the newest element in our merged list. If the last element of it, which is the first element of it, is less than, no, it should be the second element of it, is less than the first element of an interval, it's not overlapping, so we just put merge.add, which is the current interval. Else, if it's overlapping, we have to update our second element, which is merge.get merge.size -1 and 1. So we have to update it. So it will be next merge.get merged.get merged.size, okay, -1. We're getting the first one, and then interval first. Okay, I'm gonna make it slightly bigger. Okay, so we update our interval, and that's pretty much it. And then we have to return, so it will be merged to array. So if we do that, we're essentially making all the elements within a list to an array, which is what we don't want to do. We want to return as a list, array of an array, rather than just a single array. So to do that, we have to write a new int merged.size. So we're basically setting the size, and then doing that, and that's pretty much it. Let's run the test and see if it works. Okay, it's not working because I made some silly mistake. Let's run it again. Okay, it's accepted. Let's submit. Okay, it beats 51%. When I tried it, it beats like 90 something %, but all the other methods, so these methods are pretty much the same as what we used, but the ones that are much quicker than my solution is something I can't just come up with by myself, especially in the exam situation. So I'm just gonna stick with my method. So 51% is not the best one, but also depends on the internet speed. So if I submit it one more time, it might just give me 90 something percent. Yeah, it keeps going up. So yeah, I'm happy with my result. So that's it.